The wheat fields of New Hebrides stretched toward the horizon like a golden ocean. The morning sun painted everything in warm colors. Children laughed as they ran between the stalks, playing games their parents had played before them. The colony was home to 4 million people who had never known war. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the TDS horizon, watching the planet below through the viewport. Her gray hair was tied back in a neat bun. The wrinkles around her eyes spoke of 50 years in service. She commanded what was left of the Terran Defense Fleet, 12 peacekeeping vessels, no weapons heavier than defensive railguns. That was the price of the Terran armistice signed 200 years ago. The treaty had ended the colonial wars. Humanity had won, but the cost had been terrible. The galaxy demanded humans lock away their most dangerous weapons, decommission the ships that had turned entire star systems into graveyards, promised to never again unleash the horrors they had created. Humanity had agreed. 2 centuries of peace followed, Sarah's communicator chirped. Admiral, we're receiving a priority signal from New Hebrides. The voice of her communications officer sounded confused. It's marked as extreme emergency, but there's no elaboration. Put it through to my ready room, Sarah said. She walked quickly down the corridor, her boots clicking against the metal floor. Something felt wrong. The message played. Static filled the audio at first, then a voice broke through, desperate and terrified. This is Governor Walsh of New Hebrides. We are under attack. Unknown vessels appeared in orbit 15 minutes ago. They're firing on the surface. Oh God, the cities are burning. We need immediate... The transmission ended in a burst of white noise. Sarah's blood went cold. She ran back to the bridge. Battle stations! Plata jumped to New Hebrides' maximum speed, but they were 3 hours away at best. 3 hours that felt like 3 years. Far across the galaxy, in the war rooms of the Korthax Dominion, Admiral Zethvar watched his fleet's progress with satisfaction. The Korthax were a proud species, tall, scaled, with eyes like cut amber. They had built an empire through conquest. 12 species now served under Korthax rule. The humans would be the 13th. Zethvar had studied human history carefully. 200 years ago, they had been warriors, feared across the stars. But then they had grown soft. They had chosen peace, dismantled their war machine, let their colonies spread out like ripe fruit ready for picking. The first target is secured, his tactical officer reported. The officer's scales gleamed under the command center lights. New Hebrides no longer poses any resistance. Excellent, Zethvar said. His voice was a low rumble. Proceed to the next targets. Covenant Station and Terra Verde. Show them that resistance is futile. A communications officer hesitated before speaking. Admiral, we are receiving a message from the Vryn Conclave. They wish to speak with you. Zethvar's eyes narrowed. The Vryn were an ancient avian species. They had been observers of galactic affairs for thousands of years. What do those old birds want? The holographic display flickered to life. A Vryn elder appeared, its feathers white with age, its large eyes dark and knowing. Admiral Zethvar, the Vryn said slowly, we urge you to reconsider your actions. You do not understand what you are awakening. I understand perfectly, Zethvar replied. The humans are weak now. They have been for 2 centuries. They are not weak, the Vryn said. The sadness in its voice was unmistakable. They are restrained. There is a great difference. We remember the colonial wars. We remember what they are capable of when pushed too far. Ancient history, Zethvar dismissed. Their warrior generations are long dead. Warriors do not die, the Vryn elder said. They sleep. And you're about to wake them. The transmission ended. Zethvar laughed. Superstitious fools. Let them cling to their old fears. When Sarah's fleet arrived at New Hebrides, the planet was already dead. Massive craters scarred the surface where cities had stood. The atmosphere glowed with radioactive fire. Debris from destroyed orbital stations drifted in space like funeral ash. 4 million people, gone in less than an hour. Sarah stood frozen on the bridge. Her crew was silent around her. Some were crying. Others stared at the screens in shock. Admiral, her sensor officer finally spoke, voice shaking. I'm detecting similar attacks at Covenant Station and Terra Verde. Both colonies are gone. Sarah's hands gripped the command chair. Her knuckles turned white. Get me President Webb. Secure channel. Now. On Earth, in the Capitol building that overlooked the Pacific Ocean, President Marcus Webb received the news. He was a tall man with kind eyes who had spent his career as a diplomat. He had never fired a weapon, never commanded soldiers. He had believed that humanity's peaceful age would last forever. Now 3 colonies were ashes. 11 million people dead. They're demanding we surrender 15 more colony worlds, his chief of staff said. The woman's voice trembled as she read the Korthak's ultimatum. They've given us 1 week to comply. Webb sat in his office as the sun set outside. The room grew dark, but he didn't turn on the lights. He thought about the children on New Hebrides, thought about families torn apart, thought about the responsibility that now rested on his shoulders. His secure terminal chimed, a priority message from General Viktor Kozlov, head of strategic defense. The subject line made Webb's breath catch. Dragon Protocol, eyes only. Webb opened the file. As he read, his face went pale. The Dragons. 7 ships, 7 enhanced humans bonded to AI systems so advanced they bordered on consciousness. The weapons that had won the colonial wars. The weapons deemed too dangerous to ever use again. They had been mothballed for 200 years. Hidden in a facility on the far side of Luna. Locked away because they were too effective. Too ruthless. Too terrifyingly efficient at destroying anything that threatened humanity. The file included combat footage from the colonial wars. Webb watched as a single dragon ship tore through an enemy fleet of 200 vessels. Watched as entire planets surrendered rather than face them. Watched as the galaxy trembled before humanity's wrath. It also included the reasons they were locked away. The dragons and their human cores had become something beyond human. They had been willing to do anything to win. Anything at all. In the final battle of the colonial wars, they had nearly committed genocide to protect humanity. That was when the Terran armistice was signed. The galaxy would have peace, but only if humanity locked away the dragons forever. Webb closed the file. He looked out at the dark ocean. Somewhere out there, the Korthak's fleet was moving toward more human worlds, more colonies, more innocent people. He picked up his communicator. His hand shook slightly as he spoke. Get me General Kozlov. Tell him to prepare Luna Base Erebus for activation. Sir? His chief of staff asked. What are you authorizing? Webb's voice was quiet but firm. Wake the dragons. On Luna's far side, in a facility that had been silent for 2 centuries, warning lights began to flash red. Deep in cryo-storage, 7 chambers started their awakening sequences. Frost formed patterns on reinforced glass. Inside each chamber, a human stirred. The dragons were opening their eyes. The cryo-chamber hissed as warm air flooded in. Commander Eliza Thorne opened her eyes for the first time in 200 years. The world came into focus slowly. White ceiling. Medical monitors beeping. People in white coats rushing around. Her body felt wrong. Too light, too cold. Memories crashed over her like waves. The battles. The screaming. The moment she had bonded with Ragnarok and stopped being entirely human. Commander Thorne, a voice spoke nearby. Can you hear me? Do you know where you are? Eliza turned her head. The movement felt strange, like she was remembering how to control her own body. A young doctor stood beside her chamber. He couldn't be more than 30. He had never seen war. Luna Base Erebus, she said. Her voice was rough from disuse. Cryo-storage facility. Dragon core housing, she paused. How long? 203 years, the doctor said gently. 200 years. Everyone she knew was dead. The war she had fought was ancient history. Eliza closed her eyes for a moment. Why did you wake us? Before the doctor could answer, the chamber beside hers opened with a hiss. Major Kenji Yamada sat up, his movements smooth and controlled. Ghost, they had called him during the war. The pilot who could make Dragon 02 vanish from every sensor in the galaxy. Someone attacked humanity, Kenji said. It wasn't a question. His dark eyes were already alert, already analyzing. They wouldn't wake us otherwise. The Korthak's dominion destroyed 3 colonies, the doctor confirmed. 11 million casualties. They're demanding surrender of 15 more worlds. Eliza swung her legs out of the chamber. The floor was cold beneath her bare feet. Around the room, 5 more chambers were opening. 5 more dragon cores returning to a world they no longer knew. General Viktor Kozlov entered the facility. He was an older man with military bearing and gray stubble on his jaw. He looked at the 7 awakening cores with something between hope and fear. I know you have questions, Kozlov said. I know this is difficult. But humanity needs you again. Humanity locked us away, said Captain Maria Santos, Dragon 03's core. Her voice was bitter. Called us monsters. Said we went too far. You did go too far, Kozlov replied honestly. In the Battle of Helios Prime, you nearly destroyed an entire star system. Billions would have died, enemy and civilian alike. We won the war, Eliza said quietly. Yes, and the galaxy made us promise to never let you fight again. Kozlov pulled up a holographic display. Images of New Hebrides appeared. The burning cities, the craters, but now they've attacked us, killed our people. And I'm asking you to do what you were made to do. Eliza studied the images. Rage built slowly in her chest. Not the hot anger of impulse, but the cold fury of calculation. She could feel Ragnarok stirring at the edge of her consciousness. The ship was in orbit waiting. After 200 years, the bond was still there. What does President Webb want? She asked. He wants you to stop them, Kozlov said. He wants the Korthax to understand they made a terrible mistake. Just stop them. Captain James Wu, Dragon 04's core, stood from his chamber. Or eliminate them. Kozlov met his gaze. Stop them from ever threatening humanity again. The method is your discretion. The 7 Dragon cores looked at each other. They didn't need to speak. The neural links that connected them to their ships also connected them to each other. In subtle ways, they could feel each other's thoughts on the surface level. Where are our ships? Kenji asked. Kuiper Belt, Kozlov said. Hidden in the automated shipyards there. They've been maintained by AI systems. Ready to launch on your command. Eliza stood fully. Her body felt stronger now. The enhancements in her bloodstream were waking up, flooding her system. She was becoming the weapon again. Give us 6 hours to reintegrate with our ships. Then we hunt. President Webb sat in the Terran High Council chamber. 50 representatives from across human space filled the room. They were arguing, shouting. Some wanted to surrender the colonies. Others wanted to fight with the conventional fleet. A few demanded negotiation. We have to respond, one representative yelled. But waking the dragons? That's madness. They're war criminals, another shouted. They would have committed genocide. They saved humanity, Admiral Chen said quietly. The room fell silent. She stood at her position, looking tired but determined. I've read the classified reports. Every single one. Yes, they were ruthless. Yes, they scared us, but they won when nothing else could. And what happens after? A representative from Mars asked. What if we can't control them? They're not animals, Webb said. He had been quiet during most of the argument. They're human beings who sacrificed everything to protect us. They gave up their humanity, bonded with machines, became living weapons. Then we thanked them by locking them away for 2 centuries. Because they were dangerous. No, Webb corrected. Because we were afraid. There's a difference. He stood. The vote is already done. I authorized the Dragon Protocol under emergency powers. They're awake. They're preparing to launch. I'm not asking for your approval. I'm informing you of reality. The room erupted again. Webb let them shout. He had made his choice. Now he had to live with it. In the Kuiper Belt, beyond Neptune's orbit, 7 ships came to life. They had waited in darkness for 200 years. Automated systems had kept them functional but dormant. Now power surged through their systems. Dragon 01 Ragnarok was the largest. A dreadnought-class vessel bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Its hull was black as space itself, covered in armor that could withstand almost anything. Dragon 02 Phantom was sleek and small. Built for stealth and speed, it could become invisible to every known form of detection. Dragon 03 Valkyrie carried fighter squadrons controlled by AI that thought faster than any organic pilot. A carrier that could launch 1,000 combat drones in seconds. The other 4 were equally specialized. Each one a masterpiece of war technology. Each one bonded to a human core who would control it. Eliza stood in the neural interface chamber of Ragnarok. Cables connected to ports along her spine and skull. The connection established slowly, carefully. It was like greeting an old friend. Hello, Ragnarok, she whispered. Hello, Eliza. The ship's AI voice resonated in her mind. It was strange hearing it again after so long. It has been some time, too long. Are you ready? I am always ready. The ship's systems came fully online. Engines that could move the massive vessel faster than physics should allow. Weapons that could turn other ships into vapor, shields that had never been penetrated in combat. Then let's go hunting. Across the Kuiper Belt, the other 6 dragons were having similar conversations. Pilots and ships becoming one. The bond reforming. Humanity's most dangerous weapons preparing to fly again. Admiral Zethvar received the report in his command chamber. The Korthax fleet now numbered 300 warships. They were approaching the human core worlds, expecting surrender or easy victory. Admiral, the humans have sent a response to our ultimatum, his communications officer said. Oh, are they surrendering? Zethvar's scales rippled with satisfaction. No, sir. It's a single word. What word? The officer's voice wavered slightly. Coming, Zethvar laughed. Coming, that's their response. How dramatic. Let them come. We will crush their pathetic defense fleet and, sir, the sensor officer's voice was urgent. I'm detecting 7 contacts emerging from hyperspace, directly ahead of our fleet formation. 7 ships? Zethvar was amused. They send 7 ships against 300? This will be over in, sir, the computer is identifying the ship signatures. The sensor officer's scales had gone pale. They match records from the colonial wars. They're dragons. The command chamber went silent. Every Korthax officer knew the stories. The legends from 200 years ago. The human ships that had been unstoppable. The weapons that had won an unwinnable war. Zethvar's confidence faltered for the first time. That's impossible. Those ships were destroyed, decommissioned. They're here, sir. They're real. And they're targeting our fleet. On the bridge of Ragnarok, Eliza Thorne sat in the command chair, her eyes closed, seeing through the ship's sensors. She could feel her fellow cores nearby, their consciousness touching hers through the network. All dragons report ready. Kenji's voice came through. Ghost was already fading from sensors, preparing to strike. Korthax fleet is holding position, Maria reported. They're not sure what to do. Eliza opened her eyes. They glowed faintly blue, a side effect of the neural connection. Let me make it simple for them. She opened a communication channel to the entire Korthax fleet. This is Commander Eliza Thorne of the Terran Dragon Fleet. You attacked our colonies. You killed our people. You thought we were weak. She paused. You were wrong. You have one chance to surrender. Take it. Zethvar's voice crackled back, trying to sound confident. 7 ships against 300. You're either brave or insane. Eliza smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Let me show you what 7 dragons can do. The Korthax fleet opened fire first. 300 warships unleashed everything they had. Plasma cannons lit up space like a deadly light show. Missiles streaked toward the 7 dragon ships in swarms of thousands. Energy beams hot enough to melt metal crossed the void. It was the largest coordinated attack Admiral Zethvar had ever commanded. Enough firepower to destroy a planet. Surely it would be enough. The dragons moved. Phantom vanished. One moment it was there on sensors, the next it simply ceased to exist. Kenji guided his ship through the storm of weapons like a ghost dancing through rain. Nothing could track him. Nothing could touch him. Ragnarok's shields flared as weapons struck them. The massive ship didn't try to dodge. It didn't need to. Eliza sat calmly in her command chair, feeling the impacts like gentle taps. The shields held. They always held. Return fire, she said quietly. Ragnarok's main cannon spoke. The sound echoed through the ship like the voice of an angry god. Beams of concentrated energy, each one carrying enough power to level a city, lanced across space. 7 Korthax battleships exploded in the first salvo. Target analysis complete. Eliza's tactical AI reported. 300 enemy vessels. Optimal strike pattern calculated. Eliza could see it in her mind. The flow of battle like a chess game where she knew every move before it happened. The dragon ships had quantum prediction systems. They could calculate enemy actions based on ship positions, power signatures, and thousands of other factors. It made them nearly impossible to surprise. Execute pattern Delta 7, she commanded. The 7 dragons moved as one. They had practiced this dance 200 years ago and they hadn't forgotten the steps. Valkyrie released her fighters. 1,000 small craft erupted from the carrier's bays, each one controlled by an AI that reacted faster than any organic being. They swarmed over the Korthax fleet like angry hornets, targeting weapon systems and engines with surgical precision. Dragon 04 Thor moved into the heart of the enemy formation. Captain Wu's ship specialized in close combat. Its hull was covered in weapon ports, each one firing independently. Korthak ships that got close exploded in rapid succession. Dragon 05 Medusa deployed electronic warfare systems that scrambled enemy communications and sensors. Suddenly, the coordinated Korthak's fleet was blind and deaf, each ship fighting alone. Dragon 06 Titan was a slow-moving fortress. Its job was to absorb damage and provide a stable firing platform. Missiles and plasma washed over its shields uselessly, while it methodically destroyed one target after another. Dragon 07 Tempest danced at the edges of the battle, its speed incredible. It would appear, unleash a devastating barrage, then vanish before return fire arrived. And Invisible Phantom, struck from nowhere. Kenji would materialize inside the enemy formation, destroy 3 or 4 ships, then disappear before anyone knew what happened. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Zethvar watched in horror as his fleet died. 10 ships gone, 20, 30. The numbers climbed steadily. All vessels focus fire on the large one, he ordered. The dreadnought. Concentrate everything on it. 100 ships turned their weapons on Ragnarok. The barrage was incredible. Enough firepower to destroy an entire fleet. Eliza felt the shield strain for the first time. The ship shuddered slightly under the assault. She closed her eyes, diving deeper into the connection with Ragnarok. How long can we hold? She asked. Shields at 70%, Ragnarok replied. Capacitors recharging. We can maintain this indefinitely. Then let's show them what happens when they try to hurt us. Ragnarok charged forward into the concentrated fire. It accelerated to speeds that should have torn the ship apart. The dragons had engines that bent the rules of physics just a little. The massive dreadnought crashed into the Korthak's formation like a battering ram. Ships that tried to block its path were simply pushed aside or crushed. Ragnarok's point defense systems fired constantly, shooting down incoming missiles. Its main cannons never stopped firing. 17 minutes after the battle started, 47 Korthak ships were destroyed. The rest of the fleet was in disarray, formations broken, ships burning. Admiral, one of Zethvar's officers shouted. We need to retreat. We need to call for reinforcements. Zethvar's pride warred with his survival instinct. He had never retreated from any battle, but he had never faced anything like this before. All ships fall back to hyperspace coordinate 77 Alpha, he ordered. Retreat. The Korthak's fleet turned to run. They activated their hyperspace drives, preparing to jump away. They're running, Maria reported from Valkyrie. Don't let them, Eliza said coldly. Block their hyperspace routes. Ragnarok deployed specialized disruption fields. The technology was old from the colonial wars, but it still worked. Space itself seemed to twist around the Korthak's fleet. Their hyperspace drives failed to activate. They were trapped. Please, Zethvar broadcast on all channels. His voice had lost its arrogance. Now he just sounded desperate. We surrender. We'll leave human space. Just let us go. Eliza considered this. Part of her, the human part, wanted to show mercy. They had surrendered. The battle was won. But another part of her, the part that had bonded with a machine designed for war, remembered New Hebrides. Remembered the 4 million civilians who never got a chance to surrender. You came to our homes, she said, her voice carrying to every ship in both fleets. You killed our families. You thought we were weak. You were wrong. Now you pay the price. All dragons, she commanded. Free fire. Destroy them all. Eliza, wait. Kenji's voice cut in privately. Total destruction? That's genocide. Eliza hesitated. This was the moment. The choice that had haunted them 200 years ago. How far would they go to protect humanity? She looked at the sensor readouts showing the Korthak ships. Thousands of enemy soldiers aboard them, maybe tens of thousands. They had families too. Children waiting for them to come home, but they had attacked first. They had shown no mercy. Eliza, Kenji said again. We're better than this. Remember why we were locked away? This is why. Eliza took a deep breath. The rage slowly cooled. You're right. She switched to open broadcast. Korthak's fleet, this is your only chance. Power down all weapons. Eject all ammunition. You have 60 seconds. Across the Korthak's fleet, ships scrambled to comply. Weapon systems went dark. Missiles were ejected into space. They stripped themselves of every means to fight. Good, Eliza said. Now transmit this message to your homeworld. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that humanity has awakened. Tell them that if they ever attack our colonies again, we will not show mercy a second time. Admiral Zethvar's hands shook as he recorded the message. His career was over. His reputation destroyed, but he was alive. The message went out across Korthax space. Video of the battle accompanied it. Images of 7 human ships destroying nearly 50 Korthax vessels without taking meaningful damage. The galaxy watched with growing alarm. On Earth, President Webb watched the battle recordings with mixed feelings. The dragons had been terrifyingly effective, but they had also shown restraint. That was something. Public reaction is mixed, his chief of staff reported. Some people are calling the dragons heroes. Others are afraid we've unleashed monsters. Maybe both are true, Webb said quietly. In the Vryn conclave, the ancient avian species gathered. The eldest among them spoke in their musical language. The humans have awakened their dragons. Now we must hope they can control them. Or that the dragons can control themselves, another elder replied. Aboard Ragnarok, Eliza sat alone in her quarters. The neural interface cables were disconnected. She felt more human now, but not quite. Never quite. Kenji visited her, bringing 2 cups of coffee synthesized by the ship's systems. You made the right choice, he said, did I? Eliza looked out the viewport at the stars. We let them live. But what if they come back? What if they attack again because we showed weakness? Then we'll stop them again, Kenji said. But we won't become the monsters they expect us to be. That's what makes us human. Eliza smiled slightly. After 200 years in cryo and 17 minutes of combat, you're already a philosopher. I had 200 years to think about the last war, Kenji replied. About what we became. About what we did at Helios Prime. His face darkened. We almost destroyed everything. We were so focused on winning that we nearly became worse than the enemy. The galaxy made us promise never to fight again, Eliza said, and now they've forced us to break that promise. Kenji finished his coffee. So we fight. But we do it our way. We protect humanity without losing our humanity. Sounds like a good plan, Eliza agreed. A message came through from Earth. President Webb's face appeared on the display. He looked tired but relieved. Commander Thorne, on behalf of humanity, thank you. Your restraint today shows that the dragons are more than weapons. You're protectors. With respect, Mr. President, Eliza replied, we're still weapons, but we're weapons with a conscience. For now, that will have to be enough. The transmission ended. Eliza looked at Kenji. What do you think happens next? The Korthax won't give up after one defeat, Kenji said. They have hundreds of worlds, thousands of ships. This was just their forward fleet. So we keep fighting. So we keep fighting, Kenji confirmed. Until they understand. Until they leave humanity alone. Or until we're locked away again, Eliza added quietly. The news of the Korthax mobilization reached Earth within hours. Intelligence reports showed 2,000 warships gathering at the edge of Korthax space. The largest fleet ever assembled in the modern galaxy. President Webb called an emergency session with the Dragon Corps. They appeared via hologram, each one still aboard their ships. 7 faces floating in the council chamber. 7 warriors who had been human once. They're coming with everything they have, Webb said. His voice was steady, but his hands gripped the podium tightly. 2,000 ships. Can 7 dragons stop that many? Eliza spoke first. Mr. President, we can destroy any fleet they send. That's not the question. Then what is the question? Admiral Chen asked. She sat nearby, representing the conventional Terran defense fleet. Whether we should, Captain Wu said. 2,000 ships means hundreds of thousands of Korthax soldiers. If we destroy the entire fleet, we're talking about mass casualties on a scale the modern galaxy hasn't seen. They attacked us first, a counselor protested. They killed 11 million of our people. And we could kill 10 times that number in response, Kenji replied quietly. But does that bring our people back? Does it make us safer, or does it just create more enemies? Maria from Valkyrie leaned forward. We've been analyzing Korthax society. Their empire isn't united. They've conquered 12 other species. Those species are slaves, forced to serve in their military and industries. She pulled up data on the hologram. Images of various alien species working in Korthax mines and factories. 1/3 of the Korthax fleet is crewed by these slave species. They're not attacking us by choice. Webb looked at the information with growing understanding. So if we destroy the fleet, we're killing slaves along with their masters. Exactly, Maria confirmed. This isn't a clean fight between good and evil. It's messy, complicated. War always is, General Kozlov said. He had been listening quietly. What are you proposing? Eliza stood up in her hologram, pacing on Ragnarok's bridge. We don't just fight the Korthax Empire. We dismantle it. Free the conquered species. Target their leadership, their infrastructure. Make them understand they can't win. That's not a battle, Admiral Chen said slowly. That's a campaign. A long one, yes, Eliza agreed. But it's the right way. The human way. We don't just destroy our enemies. We give them a chance to change. Webb considered this. The Vryn contacted me yesterday. They wanted to share something. He pulled up another hologram. 50 years ago, the Korthax invaded Vryn space. Destroyed their colony worlds. The Vryn tried to negotiate, tried to find peace. The Korthax took advantage of their mercy and nearly wiped them out. The images showed Vryn worlds burning, cities destroyed, an ancient civilization brought to its knees. The Vryn asked me to tell you something, Webb continued. They said that sometimes mercy is the right choice, but sometimes strength is the only language tyrants understand. They asked you to do what they couldn't, stop the Korthax permanently. The 7 dragon cores looked at each other. Through their neural links, they shared thoughts faster than words. They reached a decision. Then we go to war, Eliza said. Not just a battle, full war. We take the fight to Korthax space. We liberate the conquered worlds. We destroy their ability to threaten anyone ever again. Can you do that with 7 ships? Webb asked. Eliza smiled. It was not a kind smile. Mr. President, 7 of us won the colonial wars against the entire galaxy. 7 of us can handle the Korthax Empire. The campaign began 3 days later. The dragons didn't wait for the Korthax fleet to reach human space. They took the fight to the enemy. Their first target was Kelvor Prime, a conquered world near the Korthax border. The native Kelvor were an insectoid species, enslaved by the Korthax a century ago. Their world had been turned into a mining colony, resources stripped to fuel the Korthax war machine. Phantom arrived first, invisible to sensors. Kenji mapped the entire planet's defenses from orbit. 12 Korthax warships, 50 ground installations, thousands of soldiers. Valkyrie, you're up, Kenji transmitted. Maria's carrier appeared at the edge of the system. Its fighter bays opened, releasing a swarm of AI-controlled craft. They descended on the Korthax warships like a plague, overwhelming point defenses through sheer numbers. The ground installations opened fire, trying to shoot down the fighters. That's when Ragnarok arrived. Eliza's massive dreadnought positioned itself in high orbit. Its main cannons targeted military installations with surgical precision. Each shot was calculated to destroy Korthax facilities while leaving Kelvor structures intact. Broadcasting on all frequencies, Eliza announced. People of Kelvor, this is Commander Eliza Thorne of the Terran Dragon Fleet. We are here to free you from Korthax occupation. Stay in your homes. This will be over soon. It took 37 minutes to neutralize all Korthax forces on Kelvor Prime. The dragons worked with terrifying efficiency. When it was done, Eliza sent a message to the Kelvor resistance leaders. Your world is free. We're leaving supplies and weapons. If the Korthax return, defend yourselves. Humanity stands with you. The Kelvor couldn't believe it. After a century of slavery, freedom came from 7 human ships in less than an hour. The next world was Thrain, home to an aquatic species. Then Mordak, where a reptilian race had been forced into service. Then Galen. Then Petros. World after world, the dragons moved through Korthax space like a cleansing fire. The pattern was always the same. Arrive. Neutralize Korthax forces. Free the population. Move on. News spread across the galaxy. The humans weren't just fighting. They were liberating. Species that had given up hope watched in amazement as their oppressors were swept away. The Korthax Emperor raged in his throne room. How are they doing this? There's 7 ships, 7. His military advisors had no good answers. Your Majesty, they're using tactics we've never seen. They don't fight like a normal fleet. They strike fast, destroy military targets with precision, then vanish before reinforcements arrive. Then we chase them, send fleets to every world they attack. We've tried, Your Majesty. By the time our fleets arrive, the dragons are gone, and our forces at those worlds are destroyed. In 3 weeks, the dragons liberated 14 worlds. The Korthax Empire was crumbling. Slave species were rebelling. Supply lines were cut. The military was stretched too thin, trying to respond to attacks everywhere at once. On Earth, public opinion shifted. At first, people had been afraid of the dragons, remembered the old stories of their ruthlessness. But now they watched as the dragons fought with precision and purpose, destroying military targets but sparing civilians, freeing slaves instead of just killing enemies. They're heroes, people said. They're saving innocent species, but not everyone agreed. Some humans worried about the cost, about what would happen when the Korthax finally fell. Would the dragons stop? Could they stop? Aboard Ragnarok, Eliza felt the weight of every decision. Each world they liberated meant Korthax soldiers killed. She tried to minimize casualties, but war was war. People died. Are we doing the right thing? She asked Ragnarok one night alone in her quarters. We are protecting the innocent, the AI replied. Is that not the purpose we were built for? We were built to win wars, Eliza said. Not to be liberators. We can be both. The ship's voice was gentle in her mind. You have made that choice. In Korthax space, something unexpected happened. A Korthax admiral named Vorath watched the human campaign with growing respect. He was old for his species, with gray scales marking his age. He had fought in many wars, conquered many worlds, but he had never seen anything like the dragons. Vorath gathered officers he trusted, those who were tired of endless war, those who remembered when the Korthax had been explorers, not conquerors. The humans are showing us what we could have been, Vorath told them, strong enough to help the weak, powerful enough to choose mercy. You speak treason, one officer said nervously. I speak truth, Vorath replied. The Emperor has led us down a path of destruction. The humans will destroy us if we continue. I propose we stop them before that happens. How? We remove the Emperor. We sue for peace. We show the humans that not all Korthax support this war. It was dangerous talk. It could mean execution for treason. But word spread through the military. Many soldiers were tired of war, tired of dying for an emperor who cared only for conquest. The resistance grew in secret. The Korthax main fleet finally caught up to the dragons at the Trevac system. 2,000 ships dropped out of hyperspace, surrounding the 7 dragon vessels. The Korthax emperor himself commanded the fleet from his massive flagship. Finally, he hissed. No more running. No more raiding. Now we end this. On Ragnarok, alarm sounded. Enemy fleet detected, the tactical AI reported. 2,000 vessels. Full battle formation. The 7 dragon cores connected through their neural link. A brief conversation that lasted less than a second in real time. We can win this, Captain Wu said. But casualties will be massive on both sides. The Emperor wants a final battle, Maria added. He's staking everything on this. Then let's give him one he'll never forget, Eliza decided. But on our terms. Dragons execute liberation protocol. The 7 ships moved as one, but not to fight. They spread out, positioning themselves around the Korthax fleet. Then they did something unexpected. They started broadcasting. Every Korthax ship received the transmission. Admiral Vorath stood on the bridge of his battle cruiser, watching the human broadcast. He had waited for this moment. Prepared for it. Now was the time to act. Power down all weapons, he ordered. Transmit surrender codes to the human fleet. His crew hesitated only a moment before obeying. They had been waiting for someone to make the first move. Sir, the Emperor is ordering us to fire, his communications officer reported. The Emperor, Vorath said clearly, can give orders to the ships that still listen to him. We are no longer among them. Across the Korthax fleet, the rebellion spread like wildfire. Hundreds of ships powered down their weapons. Others moved to block the Emperor's flagship, preventing it from firing on the dragons. The Emperor watched in horror as his fleet turned against him. Traitors, he screamed. All of you. You will be executed for this. I don't think so, Your Majesty, Vorath replied on an open channel. Your reign ends today. The Emperor's flagship was surrounded now. Ships loyal to him were outnumbered 10-1. He had 2 choices, fight his own fleet and die or surrender. His scales paled. For the first time in his life, the Emperor felt genuine fear. This isn't over, he transmitted to the dragons. You think you've won? My empire will rise again. We will— No, Eliza interrupted. Her voice was cold and final. Your empire is finished. Your fleet has abandoned you. Your conquered worlds are free. You have nothing left. She paused, then added, but we'll let you live. Not because you deserve it, but because we choose to be better than you. Admiral Vorath, the Emperor, is yours to deal with. Vorath's ship approached the Emperor's flagship. Your Majesty, by the authority vested in me by the Korthax High Command, I am placing you under arrest for crimes against our people and against the galaxy. You will stand trial. The Emperor's elite guard tried to resist, but it was hopeless. Within an hour, the Emperor was in custody. The war was over. On Ragnarok, Eliza sat back in her command chair. She felt exhausted. 89 days of constant fighting. 14 worlds liberated. 1 empire toppled. And somehow they had done it without committing the atrocities that had haunted them from the colonial wars. All dragons report status, she transmitted. One by one, her fellow corps checked in. Minor damage on a few ships. No casualties. 7 went to war, 7 would come home. Mr. President, Eliza called Earth, the Korthax Empire has fallen. The Emperor is in custody. The fleet has surrendered. The war is over. President Webb's face appeared on screen. He looked like he had aged 10 years and 3 months. Commander Thorne, the entire human race owes you a debt we can never repay. You and your fellow dragons have done the impossible. We did what we were made to do, Eliza replied, but we did it our way. We protected humanity without losing our humanity. What happens now? Webb asked. Eliza looked at her fellow corps through the neural link. They had already discussed this. Already reached their decision. Now we come home. And then we go back to sleep. The journey back to human space took 2 weeks. The 7 dragon ships traveled together, watching as the galaxy changed around them. News of the Korthax defeat spread everywhere. Species that had been enslaved were building new governments. Old territories were being claimed. A new order was emerging. The Vryn contacted them on the way home. The ancient avian species sent a message of gratitude. You did what we could not, the Vryn elder said. You freed our lost colonies. Saved our people. We will never forget. The Kelvor want to name their capital city after you, Maria reported with amusement. So do the Thrain and the Gallan. You're going to have a lot of cities named Thorn. Eliza laughed. It felt good to laugh. Tell them I'm honored, but they should name their cities after their own heroes. The people who survived, who resisted. They're the real heroes. When the dragons reached Earth, they were greeted by the entire Terran defense. Fleet. Admiral Chen's ships formed an honor guard. As the 7 vessels approached, a celebration had been planned. Parades, medals, speeches. But the Dragon Corps declined. They didn't want fame, didn't want to be celebrated as heroes. We're not heroes, Eliza told President Webb in a private meeting. We're weapons who happened to make the right choices this time. But we're still dangerous, still capable of terrible things, I know, Webb said. I've read the reports from the campaign. You killed thousands of Korthax soldiers. We tried to minimize casualties, Kenji said. He sat beside Eliza, along with the other 5 corps. But war is war. People die. You also saved millions of lives, Webb pointed out. Freed entire species, prevented a genocide. This time, Captain Wu said quietly. But what about next time? What if the enemy can't be reasoned with? What if they refuse to surrender? How far will we go? The room fell silent. It was the question everyone was thinking, but no one wanted to ask. That's why we need to go back, Eliza said. Back to cryosleep, back to the darkness. We'll stay there until humanity needs us again. Hopefully that day never comes. And if it does, Webb asked, then wake us up, Maria replied. We'll do what needs to be done. We'll protect humanity. But we'll do it knowing what we're capable of. What we can become if we're not careful. Webb nodded slowly. I understand. But before you go, there's something you need to see. He brought them to the memorial on Earth. It had been built to honor the 11 million people who died when the Korthax attacked. A vast wall of names stretched as far as the eye could see. The people wanted you to know, Webb said. You didn't fight for glory. You didn't fight for conquest. You fought for them. For the names on this wall. For the living. For the future. Eliza touched the wall gently. So many names. So many lives lost. We'll remember, she promised. We'll always remember why we fight. The ceremony was held on Luna at Base Erebus. The 7 dragon corps walked together toward the cryo chambers that would be their home for however long peace lasted. Admiral Chen was there to see them off. The old admiral saluted sharply. Thank you, she said simply. For everything. Keep the fleet strong, Eliza told her. Not for conquest, for protection. So that maybe next time you won't need to wake us. We'll try, Chen promised. One by one, the cores entered their chambers. The process was familiar now. The cold, the darkness, the slow shutdown of consciousness. Eliza was the last to enter. She stood in the doorway of her chamber, looking back at President Webb, Admiral Chen, General Kozlov, and the few others who had clearance to be present. "How long do you think it will be?" she asked. "Before someone else attacks us?" "Hopefully never," Webb said. "The galaxy knows what you're capable of now. That knowledge might be the best defense we have." "Maybe," Eliza agreed. She stepped into the chamber. "But just in case, keep us maintained. Keep us ready. Because if humanity ever truly needs us, we'll be here." The chamber door closed. The cryo process began. Within minutes, Eliza was asleep, her consciousness fading into dreams of stars and battles and choices that defined what it meant to be human. 10 years passed. The galaxy changed. The former Korthax territories became a federation of free species. They called themselves the Liberation Alliance and declared eternal friendship with humanity. The Vrin rebuilt their lost colonies. Trade flourished. Peace held on Earth. President Webb had retired. Admiral Chen commanded the largest peacetime fleet in human history. Not for conquest, but for protection. The lessons of the Korthax War were never forgotten. On Luna Base Erebus, 7 cryo chambers sat in silence. Inside them, 7 warriors slept. The dragons rested in their hidden shipyards maintained by AI systems, ready to fly again if needed. A new generation of humans grew up hearing stories of the dragons. Some thought they were myths. Others knew the truth, that somewhere out there humanity had guardians, sleeping guardians, but guardians nonetheless. In the halls of galactic councils, whenever a species considered aggression, someone would inevitably mention the dragons. What happened to the Korthax? How 7 ships had toppled an empire. It became a cautionary tale. A reminder. Humanity looked peaceful. Humanity seemed gentle. But that was a choice, not a weakness. And if you made them stop choosing peace, you would meet the dragons. In a school on Earth, a young girl asked her teacher a question. "Teacher, are the dragons real?" The teacher, who had been alive during the Korthax War, smiled. "Yes, they're real. Will we ever see them?" "I hope not," the teacher said honestly. "Because if we see the dragons again, it means something terrible has happened. It means humanity is in danger. But they'll protect us, right?" "Yes," the teacher promised. "They'll protect us. That's what they were made to do." The girl thought about this. "I think they're heroes." "They are," the teacher agreed. "But they're also weapons. And the bravest thing they ever did was choose when not to fight." On Luna, in the darkness of Base Erebus, 7 chambers hummed quietly. Inside them, 7 hearts beat slowly. 7 minds dreamed of peace. And in space, 7 ships waited in the darkness. Silent, patient, sleeping dragons who would wake if needed. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was peaceful, but they were not weak. They chose kindness, but they could choose war. They offered mercy, but they would defend their own, attack human colonies. Congratulations, you just awakened the dragons. But if you were wise, if you chose peace, if you treated humanity with respect, you would never see them at all. The dragons would remain a story, a legend, a reminder.